this.
What's up, homies? I know it's been a little while since I've done a real life YouTube video. Sometimes when I get really busy, I forget that I have a YouTube. This is one of my little proteges right here.
Hey,
this is
up?
Price, Mr. Durney on a Journey. He's one of my interns. He graduated back in May.
That's correct.
Your environmental science degree?
Yep.
Is that right? Awesome.
That's right. And I also have a minor in marine science.
Yeah, you do.
Too.
Did I ever tell you what my minor is in?
What's your minor in?
Art. I was always sitting in so many ceramics classes that it just made sense to minor in it.
Absolutely, man.
So I made Price a knife. I took him out hiking not too long ago, and it's like, hey man, where's your knife? He's like, I don't have one. And he was asking me some brands that he might be able to buy one. I was like, just let me take care of that. I was gonna buy him like a Mora knife or something like that, and then in the mail I got this hand-forged knife that I had placed an order on that I forgot because it took so long to make it. And I was gonna make myself a knife, but I chose to hook it up with Price. I got it right after I said I was gonna get him a knife. I'm like, well, here's the knife, let's just make it for him. So made him the sheath and the knife, and now I'm gonna teach him how to take care of it. First, why don't you show that bad boy off, man?
Heck yeah. There we go.
Got Damascus steel blade on there, rawhide handle. That's gangster, huh?
Yeah, you can see all the stripes going on
Yeah,
there.
that's a sick knife, and it's got the 90-degree angle on the back, so you'll be able to. Ooh, that's a cool ring.
That was a nice ring. That's my
But
phone.
you can strike that ferro rod with the back of your knife, unlike mine.
Yeah.
I was kind of complaining on how my knife was beveled at the back end, so it doesn't do that. See how yours has those strong back ridges, so you'll be able to sit there and
Right.
be able to start a fire with just the back of your knife.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. So, Price, as well as many others, are a bit of a greenhorn, or what'd you call it, a nymphomaniac?
No.
What was it? What'd you call it? Necrophiliac or something?
Neophytes.
Neophyte. That word went right over my head, man. I was like, I don't know what kind of an STD a neophyte is, but apparently it basically means a greenhorn.
Yeah.
So Price is a bit of a greenhorn when it comes to knife care. So I want you guys to take notice. We'll just put the sheath over here right now. First, take notice just how beautiful a job I did with that sheath. I mean, come on. That's a
beautiful?
abalone concho shell, 2 buffalo horn hair pipe beads, 250 to 200-year-old white heart Sioux trade beads, the red white hearts. And then I used a vegetable tanned leather for the inside of the sheath, and then an elk skin for the outside, and then that loop, of course.
It's quite a story that lies behind.
There's a lot of good stories that lie behind. So when it comes to taking care of your knife, notice how wet that looks. So it looks wet.
Yeah.
It's wet because it's well oiled, because I'm not planning on using that. I'm having it in my sheath, right? So we want to remember to oil our knives. And when it comes to what kind of oil, if there is something called knife oil, like whatever, it's the same thing as just oil.
Yeah.
You can use some same thing that you would use on your bicycle gears or WD-40. You use some oil on your knife. Now, one thing about Damascus steel, I will warn you about this, Price, is don't get bent out of shape when it does start to rust a little bit. It's pretty natural for Florida. With Damascus steel, that folded steel. The reason why it looks like this, guys, is because if you look at the back of that knife, what this is like 700 pieces of tiny metal squished down on top of each other. And then when they cut that angle out, it gives it that appearance of being all these cool zebra stripes. But if you look at the back of that knife, you can kind of see the story that's behind all that smashing of metal. but these will tend to get a little bit rusty in Florida. I still ordered this knife for me because I was prepared to keep it well oiled and not rusting. It's pretty easy to wipe that rust out. I've got this knife pretty sharp right here. When it comes to sharpening, taking care of our knives, I brought a couple different examples of strops out here. So this is like your old barber style strop with your straight knife. And here's what I'd like to call a field strop. Just because it's so small, I could put this in my backpack quite easily and not take up any room. And here's an example of a strop board. Let's not forget that name, Beavercraft. I mean, who loves that name? Me.
I do love that name,
right?
too.
Now, before you start, you want to make sure you take the back of your hand, kind of wipe off
Any debris.
any pebbles of shit that might be on there, excuse the language. All this is simply just a piece of the same leather like this price that's glued to a board. Now, this is something you can order off the internet and different things like that. I really like it when they have the handle under here too.
More leverage.
Like if I was gonna go buy one, I would get one with that handle. The green stuff that you guys are seeing, that's what's called a stropping compound. You'll notice on the other sides that they don't have that stropping compound. That's what you would use when you're done. So when you're stropping your blade, first of all, what's the difference between stropping and using a whetstone? Well, think of a whetstone like violently filing metal off of your blade, where stropping is using leather to like kind of mix and push the metal and put its own little polish and oil in between and make it to where it's nice and smooth and sharp. You will never, ever, ever sharpen a knife that's dull with a strop. What you do is you keep a sharp knife sharp by using a strop. So if you don't strop it and you use this knife for a year and it's just dull as hell, you're gonna have to use a whetstone, something like this, in order to get that blade back in the position.
Right.
So one thing that I like to teach though, as far as the stropping, this is what most people know is what you do after you use a whetstone. Myself, I do not use a whetstone unless I have nicked or chipped a blade, because that's how good I take care of my steel. You know what I mean? Like, I constantly strop, and it's kind of like a source of meditation for me, you know, because you just sit there, you don't go against it, you go away. So what I'm doing, and stropping too, you don't have to necessarily worry too much on the angle. The best way to teach you how to strop price is take the knife and push against, and then keep gently lifting the back of that knife up. And I know I'm going forward the way I'm telling you not to go, but gently pick the back of that knife up. And when you can feel it kind of start to grab, it's almost kind of hard to feel the grab on this because I just got done oiling it. So let me get some of that off. When you can feel that kind of grab it, that's where you want to start pulling backwards. Me, I don't need to do that little test because I already just naturally know how to bend my wrist. I've done it so much.
So it's kind
Same
of
with
like,
going away. Remember when you guys watch the barber do that with the straight knife? That's what he's doing, is stropping it every time before he uses that. That's how you keep something sharp. So me, I'll sit there and just get my knives out when I watch a movie and just sit there and strop it. When you get good, you can sit there and go back and forth like I'm doing right now. As you're learning, you'll probably just want to go the same direction. And I'm starting with one end. It doesn't matter if I'm going to this end and going like that, or if I'm going from the back end and going to the front of the knife. Now, I'm not putting too much pressure when I'm doing this. I could almost just use the actual blade, the weight of the blade, as far as the pressure goes. I want to go this way about 20 to 30 times. And I'm going to go this way about 20 to 30 times before I even check it. See how much sharper it's going. Now, when it comes to nicking a blade, or let's say that this is really dull and using a whetstone, this is a time where it'd be good to go forward. It'd also be good to go backwards. It'd also be good to go all ways around, kind of thing. Like there's some times where I'm sitting there going like this. Now, one thing that I learned as a trick that somebody taught me that was really, really good for me to learn, you won't have to worry about this for a while, especially if you keep on your stropping. But when you do, I'll help you through it. Is what I would do is get a permanent marker, and I would mark the edge of that blade that's shiny, where the steel's coming to a point, and I'd color that with permanent marker. And then I take that to the whetstone, and when I'm working that on the whetstone,
that permanent marker,
and I'm seeing that like only one side, and it's not going towards the back, well then I know to adjust my angle. And using that permanent marker gets it to where you can sit there, and I really don't want to even use this because we need to wet this down. They call it a whetstone for a reason. A lot of people, oh, you just use it dry, but like, you know, really,
it's called whetstone for a
what
reason.
I like to do is I like to soak this for about 10 minutes. And using a whetstone while it's wet and looking at it versus using a whetstone while it's dry, you know, it's a big difference. But I'd like to just kind of give you that idea. We're going to go to a finer side right here. You know, all I'm trying to do is find that little angle. You can physically look and see that there's space in there. I'm going to lift it up until there's not that space anymore. That's what I'm trying to find. So I can feel that. Me naturally, just I've done it enough. And I'm swiping through. And we'll do that until we start to feel a little bit of metal flaking on the end, which I've already done this. It doesn't need sharpen. It's sharp as heck. I'm just kind of trying to show for the video. In case you didn't see that, guys. Trying to make it to where you can see. I'm getting my angle right. Now, depending on how damaged that knife is, like if I got a nick in there, I might be sitting there going back and forth on that bad boy. They also make easy whetstones, like a little toggle machine that you just hold and run the blade back and forth. You know, those things work, but you know me, I'm the kind of guy that makes a spoon out of a piece of wood. I like it the old way, so I use it the old way. But you stay on your stropping game like this, and you won't have to worry about that whetstone until you cause a nick in that blade. So I want you to go ahead and try that out. Start it this way at first, just because it's more natural, going away from you. Yeah, or back towards you, excuse me.
Like this way.
Now, you had it right, but I think what you're doing is trying to feel that pinch, and then that's when you know to drag it back. And you want to try to cover the whole blade versus going this part of the blade a bunch of times and not hitting the end. You want to try to make it to where you're getting the whole blade across whatever you're working on, whether that be the strop or the whetstone, because that keeps it nice and even. You're choosing to go the front of the blade towards the back, totally fine. Like this end towards this end. Me, I personally like to go from this end to that end. It's just whatever feels comfortable to you. There's no really right way, as long as the angle is correct. But when you're sharpening with a strop, see, I can tell you were holding it at too high of an angle right there.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is with a strop, you holding it at the too high of an angle isn't gonna hurt a whole lot like it would if you were on a whetstone. You just added yourself 5 more minutes of scraping back and forth. That's a perfect angle right there.
That time I really felt the grip
Yep,
a bit
yep.
better too.
Yep. Yeah, see, and once you start getting the hang of it, you're naturally gonna know where that groove is. So you can just kind of pick up a knife, and you know, every knife is gonna have a different beveling on it like that. So you see, like this is a bushcraft knife, and you'll see there's a long edge on that, where the knife he's polishing, it's a fraction of that. This one, it's all about precision, you know, and real thin slices. You know, so something like working a piece of wood to a certain level to fit a certain piece, where precision is necessary. You know, so the different angles on those knives are always going to be different.
I haven't gotten this side yet.
Yep.
Now
You want to
it's
go
going towards
yep,
this way.
exactly. There you go. Perfect. And you guys can get you one of these strops for next to nothing. It's a piece of vegetable tan leather. Just, this is the same kind of leather that I made the inside of your sheath with. This is just a thicker piece, but it's vegetable tan leather. And then you just simply put that stropping compound on one side. You can buy them already with the stropping compound, like that Beavercraft one that I have him working on. It already came with the stropping compound on it. You know, I think that one was like $15 or $20, that stropping board. And that's the most expensive one I've ever bought. Like this one was like $2.50. You know, it's next to free. You know, and it's like, man, whetstones are expensive, but the trick is to keep it stropped, is to strop that sucker every time you're using it. You know, then it's always staying sharp. It's really hard to sharpen a knife with a strop, but it's really easy to keep a knife sharp with a strop.
So it's really
Other
keeping
way.
up with it. It's a matter
Yeah,
of
it's a
keeping
matter of
up with
maintenance. Exactly, that's the key. It's a matter of maintenance. You can keep a knife sharp constantly with a strop, but you can't take a dull knife and make it sharp with a strop.
Right. Oh, I didn't feel it that time.
You got the perfect edge on that. That's a good angle. Awesome, dudes. Well, I hope you learned a thing or two on this, and I'll do my best to remember to post this video to YouTube. See you, dudes. You can check out his stuff on Derny on a Journey. Are you on YouTube too? You have a YouTube page?
I'm on YouTube.
Cool. Derny on a Journey. He's got the Facebooks, the Instagram, the TikToks. He's got it all. Love you. Peace.